Concord, the biggest failure in gaming by the Act Man. Now, I have been pretty open in regards to, I kind of stopped watching the Act Man after the whole Payday 3 situation. One, the reactions never really did well. This is actually a prime example of reactions kind of not being the best, because you would just watch the original Zor's channel, right? Reasonably so. But after, because, you know, the Act Man has constructed an image of, you know, being fairly reasonable, fairly critical on games. So the Payday 3 thing kind of, I didn't quite get. That felt like a kind of deviation from the norm. You know, that's just my own personal why I haven't really watched him since then. But since this is a Patreon submission, I wanted to make sure that was, you know, clarify. I want to make sure I was transparent about that, and that I am going to be giving this video a pretty fair shake. I know Concord failed. I don't really know what Concord was. I know it was some kind of hero shooter that was paid for, with free-to-play options in the Sphere. So let's dive into this together, shall we?
Well taken, Concord.
Thank you, sir. Most kind.
And again. Over we go. Good, steady. And now, the big one. Come on, Concord.
Message for you, sir.
Concord.
No.
Concord, speak to me. Brave, brave Concord. You shall not have died in vain.
I'm not quite dead, sir.
Well, you shall not have been mortally wounded in vain.
I think I could pull through, sir.
Never.
Oh, I see.
No.
Actually, I think I'm all right to come with you,
No,
sir.
no, sweet Concord, stay here.
No, I feel fine, actually.
Farewell, sweet Concord.
I'll just stay here then, shall I, sir?
I'm actually surprised that didn't get hit by copyright. That was definitely, well, because you can get hit for 1 second. That's actually a myth in terms of copyright. You can use 7 seconds of a track or 7 seconds of media, and it's considered transformative. That's actually a myth. That's been debunked.
What
I've
I
debunked that.
remember about the release of Concord is how quiet it was. During the waning hours of the launch week, the Sony executives and I were discreetly transported to the server room. It was a silent trip. We all knew what was about to happen, what we were about to do. Did we have any doubts, any private traitorous thoughts the game could make a comeback? Perhaps. But we didn't say a word. What's up, everybody? This is the Act Man here, and today, I think it's fitting we hold a candlelight vigil for Concord. He was the best of us, he was the worst of us.
No, say
Today
the
we
worst.
celebrate the life and memory of Concord. All 11 days of it. Sony's latest hero shooter, and one of, if not, actually, I think this is the biggest commercial failure in video game history.
You fucked it up.
If you look
I always love seeing an AJ clip.
at Wikipedia's list of video game commercial failures, the numbers are actually quite impressive when compared to Concord. For example, the Sega 32X sold 665,000 units and was still considered a commercial failure.
Okay.
Dude, the fucking 3DO, the console that costed $700, equivalent to $1,500 in
Wow.
2023, even this sold 2 million. Even the infamous E.T. the Extraterrestrial on Atari 2600, the game that is largely contributed to have caused the video game crash of 1982, sold 1.5 million copies. This is just to give you context.
So it depends. Are we talking? Because there's a couple numbers we look at there, and I think Nintendo also uses allegedly, potentially skewed numbers too, right? So do we consider sold as customers bought that? Or do we consider sold as, like, you know, company and distributor provide the product and they are purchased by storefronts? So in this case, something like probably like a Blockbuster video rental store, something like a Toys R Us or like a Walmart back in the day, right? What do we consider as actual, like, sold units? That one becomes really crucial to understanding. And that's the thing where it's like, if Nintendo says that they've sold whatever, like 5 million units or whatever, it's like, okay, did you sell 5 million units? Did people buy 5 million units, or did stores buy 5 million units? And I think clarification on that point, because it should be intuited. We should know that, like, yes, like, it went to stores and people bought X amount of units. But I feel that often gets murky. And I mean, obviously, one of the big things it comes down to, trying to show investors and shareholders that something looks better than it does. I think some sort of, regulation in regards to transparent reporting would be honestly very good. But once again, you say the funny R word, regulation, and that becomes a very hot button topic by itself, because regulation by itself is just a hot button issue, right? I've gone on record saying, look, $60 price point for games was honestly the selling point, because you have such an unregulated market that it's not even funny. Like battle passes, subscription services, multi-tiered subscriptions. I mean, like, gaming kind of has it all.
Concord, on the other hand, brace yourself, has been estimated to have sold only 25,000 units.
Ooh, that's kind of small.
The 3DO, the 32X, ET all sold monumentally better than Concord. And this game had a reported budget of over $100 million. If you crunch the numbers, it's estimated about 10,000 copies were sold on Steam. Steam takes a 30% cut of all sales.
Right.
So if you were to crunch these numbers, the revenue they generated on these sales is not even enough to cover 1% of the budget.
Wild.
It's not even enough to recuperate 1% of that $100 million.
Was the Helldivers situation where they locked people out of regions, was that before or after Concord? Was that after Concord? Because if so, I think that make a little more sense. And even then, now we have Destiny 2, right? Which completely is just like, yeah, we're locking people out of regions. And it's like, I've seen people try to defend it because, like, well, legally, if they're required to do this. And I'm like, that's a issue? Like, it's like the Discovery argument of, like, Sony saying that they would, that if you bought, quote unquote, Discovery content on your PSN account, because the license was going to lapse, you would no longer have access to that content. And it's like, skissue? Or like, was it Redbox or Netflix? No, it wasn't. It should have been Redbox, right? Where I think that they were bought out by somebody else, they sold to someone else, and they just kind of up and closed everything. So anything that you quote unquote purchased, you no longer had access to. Where's my regulation on this, bro? Like, actually, like, it's infuriating. So I don't know. Like, I'm very much against Sony right now. I mean, I'm kind of peeved with AAA, quadruple A in all aspects, if I'm being completely honest. Nintendo, Xbox, and Sony, right? Very displeased with most of the gaming industry. I'm not a fan of you bought, quote unquote, the product. If you're going to revoke access because oops, license lap, or oops, thing happened, one, you shouldn't be in that line of business to begin with, in my opinion. If you can't upkeep basic costs, don't offer that product if you're going to renege on it, right? And I think we should see some regulation in terms of aftermarket care, right? Of, hey, we're removing this content. This is your key or whatever you're going to need for it. You lose it, that sucks, but at least you have access to a copy of that, right? Or they ship you a hard drive with something on it, right? It is 2025 going on 2026, and this is unacceptable behavior.
This is, I think, the biggest commercial failure in video game history. And with a staggering 8 years of development, Concord launched to an abysmal peak player count of 660 players on Steam.
Oh my goodness!
I would be laughing if it wasn't so sad, but this is a funeral, okay? Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League had a higher player count than Concord. Ladies and gentlemen, to put this in the most extreme context possible, I give you this.
I mean, I was looking at TF2 in the other window. 56K right now, 60,000, 24-hour peak, all-time peak 2.2 years ago. That must have been after the bot crisis, or at least one of them. I'm sure there's an event around that time that corroborates that. 253,997 players. Bro, TF2, does better than most modern AAA, quadruple A games, and it blows my mind.
I could end the video right here, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
What's even worse to consider is that a good chunk of these players were likely journalists or content creators who received early codes, or even some of the developers. So it begs the question, how does such a huge game that Sony has invested so much money, time, and effort into, how does it collapse this hard?
Because they don't know their market. Or even if they do know their market, they're completely just saying, I'm going to do something left field and, you know, without a care for the consequences of it. There, you know, I mean, there's a number of commentaries here, which he will, yes, get into.
Today, we're going to answer that question. Why has Concord failed so spectacularly? Because just 2 weeks after launch, Sony has announced that they are pulling it from stores, refunding anyone who bought it, and shutting the servers down on September 6th, which is...
I honestly, personally disagree with this, though. They should be required to keep it open. They released a product, people bought the product, they should be forced to keep it open.
Probably about the time this video is going to go live. They're giving it the full day before treatment. Not even Redfall was shut down this quickly, and that's so strange because Redfall was a total glitch fest. It was barely even a functioning video game, and yet Concord worked. It wasn't a good game, it wasn't unique, but it functioned, and that's usually like the bar where these kinds of games land, is like they just don't fucking work and they're terrible. But Concord worked. That's what's interesting about it. In many ways, this situation is worse than the day before because that game was
A+ of the Pokemon track.
Just a blatant scam, and this was like a genuine, real attempt to create a new first-party IP for the Sony brand. We are actually witnessing a historic moment, like something that might never happen on this level in the video game industry for a long time. While the video game crash in 1983 resulted in like $3 billion of revenue lost in the industry,
$3 billion at the time, too. That's 1980 money adjusted for inflation.
As a whole, as a singular product, I think Concord takes the cake. This is $100 million straight down the fucking toilet. The game director for Firewalk Studios, the developers, posted this update. An important update on Concord. Concord fans, we've been listening to your feedback since the launch of Concord on PlayStation 5 and PC, and want to thank everyone who has joined the journey abroad the North Star. Your support and the passionate community that has grown around the game has meant the world to us. I think one of the...
See, this is the double-edged sword of being hyper-corporate, though, right? If you're hyper-corporate and you're trying to play it safe, or trying to, push, checkboxes in a checklist, right? And you release a product like this, right? Like, imagine if this went the other way. Imagine if Concord was a smashing success, right? You know that there's going to be season passes, battle passes, paid events, event cards maybe, like Destiny 2 has for, like, the Rising and stuff. Cosmetics that aren't cheap. I mean, we're talking, like, cat ears, made outfit, $19.99 easy, trying to get on that Apex money. But then it's like, they push out the product, and then it's just like, they're just allowed to say, whoops, that's fine. I mean, is this going to be the same thing as what Fat Electrician over on the Fat Files channel was? It wasn't Balto. It was the other Snow Dog movie that Disney like removed, and I guess it's like they redact the product and opt to not make money off of it ever again. But in return, it's just seen as it's completely written off in taxes or something like that. Is this the equivalent to that? I think that practice as a whole should just be banned. But that's me subjectively, right? And that that's without talking to people, saying industries like music, industry like the movie industry, or gaming industry, talking to people from we're talking AAA, quadruple A devs down to double A devs down to indie devs, right? Because it could be interaction, it could be a genuine way out for a struggling indie dev, but it's only really abused by quadruple A and triple A, right? So there's a myriad of like of conversations that open up because of the presence of this. Is this functioning as intended? Is it being abused? Is the system just being warped? That becomes a whole slew of questions that I don't really feel confident answering.
The saddest things a person can witness is a situation where all hope is clearly lost.
Yeah.
There is no light at the end of the tunnel, and yet there is still an element of positivity to it. Man, that fucking sucks for the developers. Like, you can sit here and say, yeah, it's their fucking fault for making this game.
No, not the devs, managers. Management, C-suite execs, right? That's who I blame, not the devs.
Nobody wanted and nobody cared to buy. But there are genuinely talented developers, you know, people on the ground floor who don't make the creative decisions, who probably put their heart and soul into this job and into this game, and it's just a total dud. And the forced positivity of it, it's something about that just is so sad to me. But I mean, we're still gonna make fun of it. While many qualities of the experience resonated with players, we also recognize that other aspects of the game in our initial launch didn't land the way we intended.
You don't say.
Yeah.
You don't say. You don't say.
Yeah, the fucking foundation disintegrated. Therefore, at this time, we've decided to take the game offline beginning September 6th and explore options, including those that will better reach our players. While we
Once again, I feel that if someone did purchase this game, I use the term buy loosely because once again, you're buying into a live service, right? But like then you need to say lease. You need to have something other than buy/purchase. I think that is disingenuous marketing. At least tell me that I am purchasing a license, right? And sure, you could argue, but that's the thing is now we exist in a world of legal technicalities. You're technically buying a World of Warcraft subscription, but you're not really, buying something. I mean, you're paying money, yes, for the ability to play the game for X period of time, with these terms of service, able to revoke your access, ban your account in any way, shape, or form. If you have any sort of help ticket, there's no even guarantee. And I feel like I'm picking on World of Warcraft. Don't get me wrong. Apply this to your favorite game too, right? No guarantee that any support ticket would actually be fixed if you encounter a game-breaking bug, even if it's something, completely benign that you run into. If it's a bug, you still engaging in it could end up getting you banned, right? Like the whole terms of service, right? Like, I also feel that shortening legal disclosures to no more than a high school essay to say everything you need to should be a requirement. I should not sit here opening up something like Elden Ring Night Rain or Naruto and having to scroll through an entire TOS/EULA, especially when they start linking, it links to other things. So you buy the game and you're sitting here for 2 hours. That might be by design. 2 hours trying to read through the TOS, and you want to know what this legal form says. So now you got to go on a hyperlink that leads you to an external site. Not safe, right? Like that. Then you have to go read through that legal disclosure. That should be a high school essay, no more than 5,000 words or something, right? Because that is ridiculous. But technically, it is legal. Technically, they are allowed to do it, as there is not any rule that really says otherwise. And we can talk about if it's enforceable or not. I mean, we clearly have seen companies like Nintendo, right, very litigious in their business practices historically. Although apparently not now, because suddenly they're like, well, we're not going to think about pursuing any legal action right now. Thanks, Nintendo. Lost a lot of respect for you, if I'm being completely honest, because you go after your fan base, but, alleged unauthorized use of your IP, is seemingly fine. I have my own issues. That has been something I've been very upset about the past week. But this is one of those things where it's like, we need some regulation. We need some oversight. This is just a crock of crap.
determine the best path ahead, Concord sales will cease immediately and we will begin to offer a full refund for all gamers who have purchased the game for PS5 or PC. Yada, yada, yada. We'll keep you updated, and thank you again to all the free gunners who have joined us in the Concord galaxy. All 2,000 of them.
Yeah.
That's rough, buddy. I suppose credit where credit is due. They're not taking the small amount of money and running. They would probably face a lawsuit, you know. Although the developers could try to resuscitate the game with post-launch support, I can at least respect knowing when to call it quits.
So here's the thing, though. What happens if those videos are... What happens if... sorry, I'm relating it to videos. It's like, what happens if this game is someone's genuinely favorite game, right? Like how everyone has a favorite Pokemon. You know, someone could just adore Claydol. Like, that's their favorite, right? Someone could just adore Gastrodon, right? Like, that's their favorite, right? Or, like people, but a lot of people say they like my Fat Electrician reactions. I think my reactions to him are just dog water. I've covered this plenty of times, so I'm not really going to drive it into the ground, right? But me redacting the content is disingenuous to the people who did enjoy it, right? So, yes, there's algorithm things that go into that, you know, when I look into that, when I redact things like that to try to curate an algorithm a certain way. But it's like, what happens if Concord happened to be someone's favorite game, or they genuinely enjoyed the game in that 2,000 player audience, right? you have now denied them that purchase. Oh, but they issued a refund. See, and this I ran into this on eBay recently when I bought something. I bought something digital, and when I looked the next day, it wasn't exactly. It was an honest mistake, but I'm just like, no, I don't want you to fix this. My 1-star review does stand. The wrong product was sent. It did clarify no refunds, right? And it's like you don't get to just make a mistake like that and not realize it, and I, as the customer, have to reach out to you, and then suddenly it's a problem. Or like when I go to TCG Player, one of the last Yu-Gi-Oh card packages I got, sender didn't even send me, didn't even put stamps on the letter, right? I had to go pick it up from the post office again. TCG Player, and get on that stuff, right? Because it's sellers through TCG Player. But then I leave a 1 or 2 star review, and it's like said seller needs to make sure they're saying that I will need to pay postage on delivery. They need to put postage in their listing, right? Because I buy some expensive stuff, okay? You ever see what the Mulcharmies go for? Try buying all 9 of them in a single payday, okay? I did it. Don't get me wrong. But they're expensive, okay? They're pricey. And it's like, then you put your 1 or 2 star review in, and then there's a bot that reaches out to you because it's not a 4 or a 5 star review saying we're reaching out to the seller. And I just tell them, even if the seller reaches out, don't talk to me about my review. Just sell the product. Just sell it. If you don't want to provide shipping, put that in the listing. Why? Because it goes to new bell box. Don't worry about it. Anyways, so I mean, it's one of those things where Sony is actively denying people who bought this game by just issuing a refund. Is this entirely legal? Is this entirely above board? I would assume so. I would assume Sony Legal would take a look at this. But then again, Sony is the same company with both Helldivers 2 and Destiny 2 that just locks people out of accessing the game. I don't know, Sony Legal. You want to issue a statement or something about this? What's going on here?
But I am once again asking you to listen, game publishers, to what I said in this video. There should not be so many failures in the game industry that I can keep referencing this video as an example of prophecy. Why was it necessary to invest hundreds of millions of dollars into this new release? It's like you're just hoping that every live service game you make is going to be the one to make $1 billion, and none of them are.
What was it? Was it Sony, the same company that was going to have 12 live services come out in the time span of a year, 12 months? Insane ROI expectations.
By developing new IPs on a smaller scale, built by fewer people, with a more cohesive creative vision that takes less risks, and if it does well, work your way up. That's how it fucking used to be. The Warcraft series started as a pretty fucking jank RTS, but it grew from that. These publishers are placing gargantuan expectations upon brand new game studios and just expecting them to make billions of dollars right out the gate.
Yep.
This is such a monumental blunder that it's really important to take a deep look at why Concord failed and what this means for the game industry as a whole. Now, they say they're going to find ways to re-deliver the game, but I don't know if that's possible. The game is just not interesting to people. It's not visually appealing. The gameplay doesn't look fun or interesting or anything we haven't seen before.
I mean, personally, the cast looking at this video, none of this is memorable to me, right? So, let's go look at a game like Team Fortress 2, a game that I never really played until I started doing reactions to it, and I've been playing pretty consistently. I've been enjoying my time. Don't get me wrong. I get, a little frustrated tunnel vision, especially when I'm trying to hardcore NG main, right? But I've had some good fun with community nights where we're just conga line and I'm playing Fat Spy, right? Look at it, and we have a Zesty Jesus video coming out on the topic of team recognition and how that kind of went away. That'll be out at some point. By the time someone watches, it'll probably be out. But this is definitely one of those things where it's what the heavy is. In base game, right? We're not talking about war paints on specific workshop items, right? That's that's what that video is about. And how team recognition goes downhill, right? But what the pyro looks like. What to expect for an engineer. What a sniper looks like. What the spy is, right? Heavy, demoman, medic, scout, soldier, right? What all of these classes look like. How they're team coded, at least in base, right? Now, obviously, once again, there's cosmetics that kind of obfuscate that. That's a little different, right? Silhouette test, exactly. Then you go to Overwatch, right? You know exactly what Winton looks like. Yes, I call him Winton on purpose. God, I love Diacomp. You Winton, you know what Winton looks like. You know what Mercy looks like. Baguette. Genji, right? Tracer, had to remember her name for a second. May, Reinhardt, right? What these characters look like. you can tell them and that gets into like team differentiation. I think Overwatch did red and blue separation, right? Even in Halo, right? Like Halo, at least Halo Reach status, right? Like your armor was set to red or blue, right? So even if you don't pass the silhouette test, right? Because you could have Gungnir, you could have Grenadier, you could have Mark 5, Mark 6, my personal favorite, Scout, right? Like even if the silhouette kind of starts to blur a little bit, right? And obviously you have certain things like Emil's Kukri shoulder pad, Carter's Commando shoulder pad, right? Like you still can like, oh, I'm on red team, that guy's blue, cool, should probably shoot. Even in community nights, right? We're in community nights, we've done free-for-alls, right? I'll hop on pink team, and on pink team, someone knows, that pink Spartan's Kip, right? Then you get someone like Southfire who just domes me from halfway across the map, and we go tit for tat for the next 20 minutes. Our Halo community nights are seldom, but they're really fun. But like TF2 characters are masterclass efficient character design, even with the extra items added over the years. You can still tell them apart at a quick glance just by the silhouettes. Correct, and that's the difference here. Like, yeah, you can tell big trash can robot, but like, what differentiates these characters? That's the problem for me, right? Like, none of these characters are memorable, and I'd have to look in game to see how they actually design the characters and how a team is determined, right? Is it just an overlay like something like Halo Infinite, maybe a slight hue? Is it something like Team Fortress 2 where it's hard coded into their designs? I doubt it, but just things to think about. Tamsin and Nutty Meg, hi, thanks both of you for the subs, I appreciate that. 31 months. Tamsin, are you okay? Do you need professional help? Blink twice.
I don't think there's a Fortnite turnaround in the cards here.
No,
Fortnite's original mode, it just kind of flew under the radar. Nobody cared too much, but Epic had the foresight to say, hey, maybe we can still make something out of this. It wasn't a lost cause. Concord has been the biggest high-profile disaster that most gamers are going to want to stay far away from the blast radius,
Yeah.
There isn't any sort of even Fallout 76 type redemption to be had here. It's not a case of No Man's Sky where the game had potential and it hooked people and they were willing to give it another shot with post-launch support. I think this is just dead and done with. Future generations of gamers will associate Concord with failure, with disaster, kind of like what Brink used to be. Anybody remember that dumpster fire?
Also, never played it. I knew it was a game. I know next to nothing about it.
So can we talk about how funny it is that Sony decided to launch a live service game like this, which is dependent on a healthy player count to function, and they blocked this game's release from like 180 countries?
Once again, Sony, can you stop doing that? Okay, I think that there is some interplay there because of, once again, Sony's own fault, though. Isn't a lot of this, the PSN issues internationally because of the 2013 hack? The really big PSN hack, right? So they kind of shat the bed for themselves, did they not? Pay your cybersecurity, Fivehead.
What are you doing? Sony literally learned nothing from the Helldivers 2 debacle. Like, they looked at
Okay, so Helldivers 2 was before this, and thus this was after this. Okay, thanks for that.
that and thought, you know what? We should have just launched the game like that, blocked in all these countries.
Yep.
What are you doing?
To be fair, though, I think those 180 countries are happy they were saved from purchasing Concord. So, count your blessings. It must be pretty clear to the execs at Sony that Concord's chances of revival are basically zero. So,
Did they not sign off on this, though? The executive C-suite, did they not sign off on this? Investors and shareholders, right? Like how you had the investor shareholder meeting with Nintendo in the past several months about them talking about Nintendo's key cards and concerns with that. And then there's that PR response to the investor/shareholder about the key cards and how they're implemented in their business strategy. And it's like, did you as investors and shareholders not sign off on this? Do you as upper management just look at $100 million plus going into a project and go, I'm sure it'll be fine? Do you not engage with your company? Did I miss something here? I know I didn't go to business school, don't get me wrong, but damn, bro.
So by shutting it down, they're able to save money on the cost of running servers, the electricity for the computers in the building. Perhaps they can save some money on their taxes by writing this off as a fucking business loss. They're just getting what they can back. And this is not reassuring to any aspiring game developers, I imagine. The people of Firewalk are probably utterly demoralized, and I can sympathize with that. albeit on a smaller scale. You know, it sucks when I put 2 weeks into a video that goes live and it's at the bottom. It's 10 out of 10, doing the worst. It's flopping. But that's only 2 weeks of work for like 1 to 2 people, you know? This was 8 years and 100 developers with a $100 million budget. I cannot even grasp my mind around the stakes and how much I would feel bad about failing on such a spectacular level. So I really do sympathize with the developers on the ground floor, as can Cliff Bleszinski.
I think that's honestly fair, though, right? I think, and I know a lot of people throw shade at the devs. I mean, let's use Destiny 2, right? Let's use Destiny 2 as the example, right? What are the devs doing over there? You know, what are they thinking, right? And I think a lot of people, because the devs are on the front line, are kind of treated as the punching bag. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying every developer ever is this like, you know, ace talent, you know, superstar, right? They're there to just show up and do a job and go home, right? They're there to get paid and go home, right? How is that different than the dishwasher who washes dishes at the restaurant you go to? How is that different than your server? How is that different than, you know, the person who you call your bank or credit union and you're like, hi, you know, I want to talk about my overdraft fee, right? Well, you know, yes, I have 3 of them because I went out of town, right? Literally, as someone who's worked all 3 of these jobs, right? Or what if you're a tradesman, right? And it's like, the wiring on your house is foobar, or something in your plumbing sucks, and then they give you an answer you don't like, and well, I gotta rip out the whole wall, gotta rip out the system, we gotta redo this, right? I mean, or a mechanic with a car, right? You know, well, I can't, you know, this is what happened. I mean, it's gonna be an expensive rebuild. You know, we're looking at easily, you know, $2,000 to $3,000 for this. As someone who's looking at $2,000 to $3,000 for an AC unit, right? And I'm like, you know, it's not their fault. They're just doing their job. Yes, there's different degrees of people, right? It's a spectrum. You got your awesome employees, you got your awful employees. But like, the issues rise from management. And maybe it's because I did work in games testing for a company that begins with L. I don't know if I'm not affiliated with them, right? I try to like use their name sparingly. And I obviously can't say what I worked on. I'd have to see if my NDA expired or not, right? But it's like, yo, we just got told to ad hoc test this. Grats. We're testing this thing. Grats. Did I find bugs? Yes, no. I actually got told that I was providing way too many screenshots and way too many words, like paragraphs documenting bugs, right? And so I'm sitting there just like, is that a base level employee thing? Or is this, more reasonably, a management thing? You know, people higher up the chain. I always feel that's where the problems are at, and that's where all the problems will continue to stem from. Just multiple industries, whether it be film, music, gaming, right, restaurant management, you know, retail, right? A lot of industries are really due for just a good gutting of their entire management structure. But it's not going to happen, and you're going to see a lot of people, a lot of the groundwork people, get, you know, let go and fired, and they're going to leave. They're just going to retire too at a certain point, right? Trades in the next 10 years, we're going to be running into a real problem in the U.S. So, like, and it will compound the issue, right? If you keep all the management, but you don't have your ground level employees, how do you make the product, right? If you lay off all your devs. And this is what Halo Infinite ran into, right? You lay off all your, well, you don't have your devs on actual like payroll, right? You have contractors, and once they finally learn the Slipspace engine, they're 10 years up and they're not getting renewed, right? So you sit there and go, it's no wonder why Halo Infinite turned out the way that it did.
Who said on Twitter, Concord, I feel your pain. For those that don't remember, Cliff Bleszinski was the lead designer on the first 3 Gears of War games. He later moved on to create Lawbreakers, another hero shooter that was less dead on arrival than Concord. And
this was about Black Ops 3 era. I talk about this consistently. I'm so glad I never bought a copy because they just took it down.
That game was shut down just a year after launch.
Yeah.
We thought that was a crazy shutdown, 1 year. Concord lasted 11 days. If anyone knows what the Firewalk devs are going through right now, it's Cliff Bleszinski.
Yeah.
Now, the first major reason Concord failed is pretty obvious. Bad marketing. I, like most people, saw the trailers for this game and thought, don't care. That's how our brains work, right? You have to implant a strong first impression to be like, What is this? Does it have a release date? When's that? I should put it in my calendar. Yo, homie, have you seen this Concord game? It looks kind of sick. Maybe we should try it out when it comes out. No, there was no word-of-mouth effect like that at all. I only learned of this game's existence a few weeks ago because I was doing research on upcoming hero shooters for the video I made on why Overwatch 2 was a pointless sequel, in which Concord was just a footnote in that video. Like, hey, maybe Concord is going to be one of those games that gives Overwatch 2 some competition.
I mean, the color palettes are just so it does look like they're using a team-based red versus blue, and they're assigning health bars and stuff. So it seems like team obfuscation isn't going to be super big of an issue. Like the color palettes are just so muted. Like Mermaid Girl, bro. You know who the most iconic character I've seen this entire video? The stupid walking like cylindrical trash can thing. Give me more of that. That's the main character. These movies are iconic.
You serious?
Really, Act Man? Really? I didn't fucking know anything about it. Okay, cut me some slack. But it's still bizarre that Concord could launch to such low player counts. Like, they had a flashy, big-budget cinematic trailer that, like, clearly had a lot of effort put into it. It was being promoted on PlayStation.
Yeah, this guy on the right. Big yellow trash can dude. That guy's the MC. I'm calling it.
PlayStation's showcase. They had plans for an animated spin-off series. They had written up a ton of lore and backstory on the characters in the universe. They had limited edition controllers tied in with this game. It actually looks pretty sick, not gonna lie.
It does look really good,
There
actually.
were months of planned live service updates with weekly story vignettes to keep players coming back. How could so few people have bought or played this or cared about it? Why did it become a ghost town? 660 people used to live here. That was a ghost town. One Reddit user pointed out that people who pre-ordered got access to the closed beta, and that closed beta peaked at about 1,100 players. The open beta drew in a max of 2,400. The game launched to a player count of less than 700, an indication that about half of the players who pre-ordered the game canceled it or got a refund before release. Wild. Meanwhile, Deadlock's hitting like 100K and it hasn't even fucking been announced yet. And I recently watched the cinematic reveal, and you know when you watch something and you're like, I don't feel anything.
Yeah.
That's kind of what like a sociopath probably feels like. I just feel empty inside watching this. It comes across like a intergalactic co-op heist game, which could have been a really cool. That's a cool concept.
Bro, that's actually a cool concept though. How do you consistently mess things like this up? It blows my mind. Like, I mean, you could make a movie about like space pirates and you know, with similar feel to Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and you know, you can ram other people's ships, you can board, think like Sea of Thieves or like Black Flag, but like in space, right? And you're pirates, and you have a bunch of hats and stuff. You can go get like, you know, really cool tricorns. Maybe there's like raids and stuff that you can do, right? Where, you know, you go to this asteroid field, and there's this asteroid with like, you know, think like the Leviathan, right, from Destiny 2, right? But think like that, but like rock, right? Just made of like rock, maybe some like ancient sort of like 400 type metal. Like even just spitballing stuff like this. Like, I mean, yeah, there's some potential there. And then you'd get the game, and it plays like it just plays like garbage. The soundtrack doesn't do anything for the game. I think that's the part that like really messes with me. Is it's like a lot of games have some great ideas, but the execution just gets botched for one reason or another. And yeah, sure, like dev teams who are biting off way more than they can chew is an issue. I'm not gonna say it's not, but it's like, bro, how do you flub some concepts like this?
Concept. I mean, this big tower in the circling city, it looks kind of cool. The way the characters talk is uninteresting, mega cringe. They don't look visually appealing. It's like, oh, get it? This guy likes hot sauce. Isn't that so quirky? The old shoot the hot sauce bottle at him. A classic trick. I think it's generous to call this a cheap knockoff of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like, you can already play as the real Guardians of the Galaxy and Marvel Rivals. Just fucking play that.
So I guess I'm also being told that the core gameplay isn't garbage, right? So, and at that point, if the core gameplay isn't garbage, the failure points are going to be going to be on other fronts, right? I want to see what his conclusion on this is.
You know, the setting was cool and interesting. Maybe we just needed time to get used to it. And then they said Concord would be a 5v5 hero shooter. And I think that's when most people just checked out, because there's a lot of those right now. But even in the gameplay trailers, where the footage has been curated and edited to be the best representation of the game possible, Concord still looked dull, unimaginative. I mean, just look at it. Compare this to the excitement present in the Black Ops 6 trailer. These gameplay showcases could be described as This is a brand new IP. It's a hero shooter. And
I think it's because it's so muted for me. Like, it's so muted, it's bland, it kind of blends in. I really think a bright, vibrant color palette probably would have helped here.
Established, saturated genre. You gotta blow us away with an explosive first impression.
Right.
The game sounded even less appealing when the developers sat down and explained to us what Concord was. None of it sounded unique. All generic statements you could say about any first-person shooter. It's got a strong gameplay foundation, opportunities to outplay your opponent, tight core movement. Does it also have guns?
I mean, he could have just been explaining Marathon for all I know.
Shooting? I love shooting things. If I'm not shooting, I'm not having fun.
Is that an Angry Joe meme? I think that's an Angry Joe meme. I vaguely remember this. Which video was it?
So for the people who watched these trailers and were aware of the game's existence, it probably didn't leave a strong impression, especially when it's in a showcase filled with other vastly more interesting games. In this article from The Gamer, there's a paragraph that summarizes people's sentiments perfectly. I'd never heard of Concord before the showcase, or if I had, what I'd heard or seen hadn't been memorable enough to stick in my memory. I didn't realize right off the bat that it was part of PlayStation's slate of live service titles, which set me up for a day-ruining disappointment. First impressions matter a lot, especially with new IPs, because they don't have that emotional equity with an audience to automatically grab their attention. And
So this does follow up on his prior point of why not make new IPs. He is correctly explaining the difficulty in releasing a new IP. Silent Hill Forte, right? Silent Hill Forte just came out. I tried streaming it. I can't physically play it. It caused my PC. Like, my PC's running fine right now, knock on wood, right? But it's like, I mean, I don't have a broken PC. That game hard crashed my PC twice. The game kept hard crashing, unplayable state. And, you know, I mean, talk about first impressions. That's my first impression. Someone who came off of Silent Hill 4 The Room on GOG and now Silent Hill 2 Remake. Very much enjoying the series, at least the Team Silent entries. And, you know, going through it so far, especially having experienced Silent Hill 4, Silent Hill 2 Remake, knowing what happens in Silent Hill 1, 1, Original 2, 3, Downpour, Origins, etc. I haven't quite covered some of the games. Some of the mobile games just aren't accessible anymore, right? Like early era mobile games, like late 2000s, right? They're not accessible anymore. So I don't know what happens in those. I've been watching Totally Pointless TV's Silent Hill videos on them, and I'm loving what I see. But like going into Silent Hill Forte, I kind of scratch my head and ask, should this have been a Silent Hill game? And I think that's the problem. Or like Resident Evil on the Netflix. I'm sure we could talk about, you know, Albert Wesker being portrayed by a black actor, right? And that in itself garners controversy, sometimes from people who are definitely trying to use it to push certain narratives. And it's just like, I feel like that is an example of one of those things, just cutting through everything else, of like, it feels like there was a series or something there, and it was just mutually beneficial to slap the Resident Evil title onto it, right? And I feel that there's plenty of TV shows and movies where it's like, is this even really part of the main vision? Or does this seem to be slapped on for convenience and a paycheck? I think that's an interesting point to bring up.
didn't do a good job of grabbing people's attention. The second reason Concord failed, they missed the bus. It's gone, okay? And now the game is stuck at rock bottom. Even if this came out before Overwatch, it would have felt immediately outdated after Overwatch came out. Overwatch 1, yes.
Yeah.
If you're gonna show up 8 years late to the party, you better bring...
To clarify on the Wesker point, no, I heard that the actor who played Wesker was like way too... I was watching Critical Drinkers review on it, if I'm being completely honest, right? His actor was like apparently way too good for the show he was in. Like, that man put a performance on. Like, I haven't watched it personally, but like, I heard that man did a very good job for full like transparency.
Some goddamn good chips and a keg of beer. Where's the beer? It's not just that the hero shooter genre is oversaturated, it's that Concord did nothing to differentiate itself from its competitors.
Yeah.
As if nowhere along this 8 stretch of development, they thought, hey, maybe we should change directions and try to innovate and adapt to the changing gaming landscape and what the current expectations are. I mean, you see this innovation in hero shooters like Deadlock, which is arguably more of a MOBA than a hero shooter. The aspects of Dota and League of Legends work to great success in Deadlock. It's a lot of fun. It doesn't play or feel like anything else out there. It's a
I'm gonna be honest, I probably wouldn't like this game for nothing else other than like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it appeals to me. And that's fine, right? Like if you don't like a game, that's completely fine, right? I may like a game like Silent Hill 4 or Silent Hill 2, and it's like you're free to not like them. My dad, for example, has been getting into gaming, right? He actually purchased a Steam Deck. Like he went out, purchased a Steam Deck, ordered it from Valve, right? And I mean, he's been asking questions. I put him on Skyrim personally, right? But it's one of those things where like, it's just really cool to see someone do a thing. And it's like, I can't talk to him about Silent Hill. He personally doesn't want to deal with it. And that's fine. You don't have to. There are certain people who I will talk about things like Resident Evil with. There are certain people who I'll talk about Dark Souls with. There are certain people who I'll talk about Pokemon with. Like, and it's not that you have to have everyone coalesced and like on the same page, because we all have our different interests. We all have our own unique takes on things and stuff, right? Like I have trouble playing, shiny hunting in Pokemon, or doing long explorations into the Black and Elite Dangerous, even with my Fleet Carrier and Mandalay, right? So, or someone else, could be posting on r/Elite Dangerous every single day, having cool interstellar phenomenon that they find, right? And to circle back, it shows that like, while I disagree with something, don't take it as me necessarily hating something, right? Like, like I said in the beginning, being transparent. While I disagree with someone like the Actman having championed Payday 3, do I hate the dude? No. I think it'd be a really immature thing to really give someone crap over. It's just one of those things where it's just like I don't know, I just kind of stopped watching him after that personally. And I'm sure he has his own, he feels a certain way about it. He's entitled to that feeling. We're all entitled to opinions. It's all about being civil.
Genuinely innovative title, and it's in alpha, and the art style is still leagues better than this. They haven't even finished the fucking graphics on this game, and it still looks better. Marvel Rivals has the benefit of the Marvel IP and the hundreds of characters they can pull creative inspiration from. NetEase has already worked on Overwatch in the past, so they have experience with that type of game. Apex Legends blends hero shooters with the Battle Royale formula. Valorant mixes hero shooters with Counter-Strike. It's these combinations of different ingredients that makes the beverage taste unique. Concord doesn't have any of that. There's no X factor. And it's late to a trend we've all been familiar with for the last 8 years. The third reason, and let's play a game. One of these is not like the other.
Apex.
Can you help me figure out which one?
You know what? I was half expecting him to say that in Spanish. Like just full on Dora the Explorer that. Just deadpan Spanish into the mic. I don't know why my brain thought that.
Is it this one? No? What about this one? Oh, I see. It's Concord with a $40 price tag when every other competitor is free to play.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Apex's price point. Because Baka, when he comes out to stream, I guess he used to stream Apex when it first launched, right? He doesn't really stream anymore, but he's talked about it. He used to stream Apex and was very good at OG Apex, but he won't return to the game because the game is just so fun. It's like Siege, right? The game is so fundamentally different from when it launched, and the microtransaction model is just so aggressive. The Final Fantasy VII crossover, right? Like, people did the math, and it was stupid amounts of money to get everything.
Gee, who could have seen this one coming? That this was a bad decision. At a time where inflation is also especially high in the U.S., gamers
absolutely
have to be wise with what they spend their money on.
Yes.
And they're likely to be even more conservative with their money because of games like Concord that turn into total duds. I don't know what to say. This is just a complete miscalculation. This is 2014 Seahawks at the Super Bowl throwing it when they're on the 2-yard line instead of giving it to Marshawn Lynch. It's just a complete disaster of a calculation. The main appeal of live service games is that most of the times they're free. You might deal with some jank and bullshit, but the game's free, and if you want to support it with microtransactions, you can. So the barrier to entry is torn down and the business model is mostly geared towards cosmetics. That's the trade-off. But trying to do both is really difficult if the game isn't good enough. It's like trying to milk 2 cows at once. Asking for $40 up front is like forcing your guests in Roller Coaster Tycoon to pay to use the bathroom. It's like, no thanks, I'll just shit my pants. Thank you. However, games...
So that's the thing, though. You have to have a value proposition. You absolutely can charge a premium in a free-to-play market. You absolutely can. But what's the value proposition there? Do you get, say, daily currency for free so you can use to make certain pulls? Do you have access to better, more stable servers? Is their content worth it, right? Are microtransactions less aggressive because it's a paid what's the value proposition, right? Let's use it like multiple sliding scales, right? So you can't see my mouse on screen, but like imagine, so right here, like we'll use the playtime, right? We'll use the bar, right? If you increase the price of your game from free to being paid, right? If you increase the price, and furthermore, as you increase the price, you have to bring something else down. So free to play to paid, okay, your microtransactions are a little less aggressive. You make your community feel like they've bought into their own closed garden, right? You make, give them that security of this being a stable product. And if you go from, say, a $9.99 game to a full $70, even $80 Nintendo AAA release, right? Okay, then, well, since you do that, since you purchase that, now we're going to go down on this sliding scale because now you have a stable game. You can play the game offline. In certain events, you maybe even own the game outright. Like you can download the EXE, GOG status, right? Like you have to, it's a value proposition, right? Yes, absolutely. There are games out there that, like, you have to pay to play. Like World of Warcraft, you have to pay to play them, and then you have to go pay your sub fee. Well, so you got to buy the expansion, then pay your sub fee, and then you have to, get your stupid $90 dinosaur that makes it you can access your mailbox from anywhere. Because I hear that's pretty tech. As someone who really hasn't played World of Warcraft, I raided in Destiny 2, or at least I did until the recent Sony news, and I'm kind of looking at stopping because of blocking entire countries. So that aside, though, not necessarily an MMO. Final Fantasy 14, I like doing current raid tier content. Very much love doing current raid tier content. We'll love to do Savage and Ultimate content, but I don't have the party to do that. Lord of the Rings Online, I'm getting back into that. I hear their current raid tier going into this coming expansion is actually very, very challenging. I also like that it doesn't function in a dot system, right? So, I haven't played World of Warcraft itself, but I like hearing about it. And WoW players really kind of get the short end of the stick in a lot of ways. I think it's easy to just dunk on World of Warcraft players, and I think a lot of them earn it, right? But there are people who just want to play the game and who come back every expansion hoping the game is just better, hoping the game treats them well and respects their time, right? Like, what is your value proposition? Yes, people will play games regardless. Look at Diablo Immortal, the dude who won the game by dropping like $100,000 on it, right? Dude just won Diablo Immortal, right? I haven't heard anything about it since. But that's not everybody. And now that also gets into the argument of, do you cater to your top 10% of players who spend and generate 90% of your revenue? Or do you cater to the vast majority of your players, say your 90% of your player base, who generates only 10% of your revenue? These all come into play with business decisions like these.
That manage to blend an upfront cost with a live service model can sell well. Helldivers 2 is a prime example, but they also really didn't go too hard on the monetization. It's also been fumbling on the live service front, and that's kind of sad, but Arrowhead more than made their money back and then some. But Helldivers 2 also offered players something they had never seen or played before. It had style, grace. Concord has a funny face. Speaking of, the fourth reason the game failed, to put it nicely, it's visually unappealing. That is the nicest way to describe it. Not just the character designs, but the UI, the weapons, the maps, everything. It's generic, it's ugly. Visually, everything has a great amount of detail and high graphical fidelity, but it lacks style, it lacks charm. It means Concord only looks like lots of money was invested into it, but not much creativity. This is a hero shooter. The heroes are the selling point. This game has to have character. If I don't like the look,
I think that Overwatch runs into this issue unironically as well, because like the maps, sometimes they feel a little too, I mean, the focus is on the characters, but sometimes the maps themselves, I do feel seem a little bland. I do think that it does focus on the Team Fortress 2 aspect though, where the focus is on the heroes and stuff. So I don't think maybe that's necessarily a true comparison, but you look at something like Two Fort, not Small Fort, Two Fort, right? Right? It's supposed to be dull. It's supposed to be like the pop is on, right? The pop is going to be on the cast of characters, right? The team, right? It's going to be on the cast. So it interacts very well. I don't know. I've been on my big TF2 binge. I've been thoroughly enjoying the game. And that's the thing. Like all of these games he mentioned, do you know what you could still technically play? You can still play TF2. Why would you buy Concord when you could just play TF2? And genuinely, when I ask, would I pick up another hero shooter? Would I pick up another FPS game? And my immediate question becomes, I could just play TF2. Should I just play TF2? Even if I, decide to go the route of buying certain unusuals and stuff, I hear the Hellfire unusuals are disgustingly expensive. I'll never get things like the Spy Crab just because I missed the era where the plushies were launched in, right? But like, would you just rather play TF2? I think that's unironically a really good litmus test.
Look, feel, or sound of these characters, then there's no reason for anybody to play it. So let's look at the roster, shall we? Teo. He looks like he's geared up to play laser tag. I'm really not sure what's up with the asymmetric, like, one blue eye thing. I'm guessing this is like the Soldier 76 of Concord. Hamar looks like she got her outfit at Value Village. Like, she went to a thrift store. Out of all the ways you can cast fire...
Yo, don't knock those thrift stores, though. I found some just gas stuff at thrift stores. They're so good.
In video games, why tiny little balls? Star Child is...
Oh my god! What's wrong with your face?
What the fuck is this supposed to be? The bright blue skin tone? This looks like my fucking custom Oblivion character that I'm trying to make as ugly as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Oh, my sweet lord. This lady looks...
Yeah, I don't understand this one. There's a couple characters I don't really understand. What's her face? God, NB person from Overwatch 2. They have the drill. What's their name again? Overwatch drill character. I literally don't know what their name is. Venture ? This character. I genuinely I get it. I don't know. I feel like I'm being overly critical at the same time though, because like it feels. I don't know. That this is one of those that has really kind of like, how Blizzard got caught using the whole checkmark system, right? Like the whole this character is inclusive, because of XYZ ABC reasons on the chart, right? And it had the lines of how like diverse and inclusive a character was. I feel like this is a direct product of that, but I also feel like that's mean to say. I'm conflicted. I'm a little mixed. And I feel like it's one of those discussions that gets hard to have because immediately people will just go like DEI route and stuff. It just becomes really hard. Like, I don't know how to describe it other than the character grates me, but like it's something about the design rather than the identity, if that makes sense. I don't know how to word it.
It's like if Warhammer 40K created a kid show to teach infants how to count, she looks like she would be the main character. She would be the Steve of Blue's Clues. Her design looks like a 6-year-old's interpretation of the Fallout power armor. Like, impressive for a 6-year-old. For $100 million? No siree. Ladies and gentlemen, it's right there. The red flag. I mean, it's in plain sight.
Literally right there.
Warned us. They tried to stop us from purchasing this game.
Yeah, see, look on the left side of the screen. There's a literal red flag on the character, right? On the backpack. Yeah,
And
makes
they
sense.
literally put a red flag on the character design. There's just nothing visually appealing about any of these characters. If you look at them, they're just all horrendously ugly. Or they have like such contrasting color schemes. Or like this guy Jabali. Like isn't that a fucking stupid name? Jabali? Look at him. He's got like a cowboy hat, Mad Max goggles, a fucking portable CD player attached to his chest.
I feel like here's the thing. I feel it was in a different game. I feel like if this man was in like Borderlands as like a really cool NPC that sent you that was able to like collect like certain like holodiscs or whatever. I don't know what Borderlands uses. I don't know. Randy Pitchford really killed any interest I had in ever going back and playing those games, if I'm being completely honest. Code your own engine 5 head. Yeah, exactly. Like something like in Borderlands, I think it'd be fine, right? Like I could totally see this working. What do you call it? This guy right here. So where are we at? We're 2258. Give me a second.
Or they have like of these character design. There's
trying
just
to find it.
Horrendous.
Yeah, this person. I feel they'd kind of be at home in like something like a Metal Gear, right? Like playing through Metal Gear Solid Delta. I feel like this could just be like a rank and file enemy under like the Volgan, right? I feel like it's too much coming together, and maybe that's supposed to be the ragtag. I mean, obviously you change the color palette on this, in my opinion, right? But like, yeah, I totally see this being someone like under the Volgan. Like this kind of reminds me of, is it the Pain? No. Which one was the fire? The Pain was the bees. The Fear was the spider one. The End was the one with the parrot that photosynthesized. Is it Wrath? That sounds correct. Yeah, it's the one that set himself on fire. It was the cosmonaut, right? Like, yeah, like I could kind of see. I don't know. You have to understand. Yeah, the Fury. Thank you. You have to understand that I've really never interacted with Metal Gear other than Vinesauce memes, and literally playing through Delta on the gaming channel like incredibly recently. So I do apologize about getting some details wrong and forgetting some details. I did thoroughly enjoy my time though. I was not expecting the Volgan crotch grab scene. That threw me for a loop. But I definitely see why people think highly of Kojima. I totally get it. But like, yeah, like dude with the fishbowl helmet, right? Make that like, I don't know, a black color scheme. Maybe have like the red visor. Maybe have like the edges of it be, you know, some sort of like, you know, maybe like red lining or something like that. And I mean, it's like, I could totally see it. I feel like, yeah, ragtag band of adventurers, mercenaries, doing things, doing mutual thing, FPS hero shooter, right? I feel like the concept of sound, I think it's just the wrong genre, honestly.
And a turquoise, like what the fuck is this character design? Even the robot, dude. He's literally called...
Don't talk shit about my robot, dude. This guy is the best character I've seen so far.
The trash dispenser.
He's
A
good.
fucking trash can.
He's the trash man.
Claptrap could beat the shit out of this guy. This is the fucking prototype for IG-88. This is IG-88's fat brother. This motherfucker looks like the Tiger brand rice cooker, man. Is there even one character?
Yo. Didn't even wash his rice before putting it in that rice cooker. Damn, bro.
It doesn't look like dog shit.
Come on, let's go!
Pass.
Ladies and gentlemen, while recording this video about why Concord failed, the Act Man tragically died from cringe. Did you know that over 700 people a year die from cringe? It's not a whole lot, but it is more than the peak concurrent player count of Concord. Usually it's self-inflicted deaths caused by one's own existence, but in this case, he's alive.
So there's nothing about these heroes that looks cool. I'm confused by the art style. The color scheme is off-putting, and I don't know what the fuck any of these people, or if they're even people, are supposed to be. Compare this to any character in Overwatch, and it's no contest. And that's the thing, as crazy as this sounds, people want to look cool in video games. This shit ain't
weird. No, I definitely wouldn't have guessed that, especially if I go to, I don't know, the Manco store and I'm looking at something like, oh, I don't know, a Hellfire Unusual, right? And let's say, oh, I don't know, like the Hellfire Sturgeon Stahlheim Unusual. I don't know why that's 0. It's probably because near. Oh, here we go. Yeah, about $2,000 to look cool with the Hellfire Unusual effect. Yeah, definitely wouldn't have guessed that gamers like to look cool. Definitely not. No, sir. Definitely wouldn't have ever guessed that. I'm being sarcastic, right? I am adding on to his point, confirming his point.
Ain't cool. This is lame. Either make it cool or make it sexy. It's not hard.
Yeah.
I don't think tits could have saved this game, though, fellas.
No. Give the trash can robot tits. A+.
Design of Concord's characters aren't just ugly, they tell you nothing about the character themselves. Let's pretend none of you have ever played Team Fortress 2. And I'm pitching.
Can you imagine if they didn't meet the team for this? I feel it would have gone over a lot better. I love that he's bringing this up.
The game to you, and I tell you, it's a hero shooter or class-based shooter. I want you to tell me what you think this guy does. Kind of looks like.
well, you see, it depends on who you ask. Because certain people are going to tell you that he is the one of the most broken things in the game. Other people are going to tell you he's the most useless thing in the game.
He doesn't want his face to be seen. You know, maybe he's
weird,
he's a stealthy kind of guy. What about him? Big machine gun. He's got a bigger frame than the other guy.
No. See, he's clearly the spy. Okay, I have objective evidence to prove this. TF2 fat spy. Right? Okay. Like, this is the class I literally play. He is literally the stealth character. He is the fat spy. Okay. Like, literally exists. I will hear no further questions.
Bald, probably a tough dude, can dish out a lot of damage, can take a lot of damage, but can't move fast. You see how easy it is to, like...
Until comp players got involved, thank you, Gloves of Urgently Running. Dumbest item in the game.
Differentiate between good and bad art styles? What do you think the fucking rice cooker guy does? Did you guess that he's a robot that shoots fucking vacuum cleaners?
Amazing.
The point is, no. Concord isn't interesting to look at. I don't want to look at it. So between the unappealing visual design, the $40 price tag, the generic nature of the gameplay, it's no wonder why Concord failed to capture a meaningful audience. But what is perplexing is how this was okayed by anybody. This is like Sony's Redfall. And right now, Sony is in dire straits. In 2022, they announced they had 10 live service games in production, and 6 of them would be released by March 2026.
Gross.
Layoffs have hit Sony developers, changing priorities for some of these live service titles. Others have been outright canceled, and some have become flops like Concord. This is representative of a wild overreach, an overexpansion and overinvestment into something Sony doesn't know how to market or create. They're just throwing money away in the trash can and lighting it all on fire. It has to stop. It's easy to point and laugh at the ridiculous character designs, but truly it's tragic that so much money and time and effort has gone to waste in such spectacular fashion.
Isn't this why people praised Phil Spencer at one point in time? Because he was supposed to be a gamer and he gamed like everyone else? Like, that was the argument I heard about when the Series X was about to launch, like when they were sending out advanced consoles to people who pre-ordered, right? Like, I heard the argument that, oh yeah, people love Phil Spencer because he's a gamer like the rest of us. And I'm like, Phil Spencer is the CEO that released Halo Infinite. Don't get me wrong, I bought my 2 copies. I wanted campaign. I wanted more campaign. The netcode was just dog water. Like, that was the thing that pissed me off more than anything. The desync, we waited so long to get out of Season 1, too. Like, I just sit here and I'm just like, was this not why people liked Phil Spencer? But even then, Phil Spencer kind of fumbled with Xbox releases. And then, you know, Nintendo, modern Nintendo. You know, if you don't want to Switch 2, just go buy Switch 1. Proceeds to raise Switch 1 prices. So I'm just like, you know, I don't really know. I think the AAA and quadruple A gaming industry just like that unfortunate ex that you have, and you keep getting back together because they say they've changed, and then you know 3 months later they kind of you know shit the bed again, and then they tell you, oh, you know, I need to go find myself, and then they come back in like 6 months and you guys try it again and they shit the bed again, and then they need to go find themselves again. I feel like that's literally, honestly, I've just described my relationship with Destiny 2, if I'm being honest, but I feel that's just That's just us with these companies at this point.
Actually, fashion isn't even a word you can use when describing this game. I sure am glad they didn't use, $10 million, $20 million to make a new Jak and Daxter. Really glad we didn't get that instead. And we've already seen the industry hit with tens of thousands of layoffs, and critical flops like Concord will do nothing but contribute to this declining health of the video game industry
100%.
and the hobby we all care about. Something needs to change, and it needs to change now. But these are the reasons why Concord has failed and why Sony is shutting it down just 2 weeks after launch. But what do you think? Which of these characters would you bang?
The trash can. Bro, as someone who I was literally talking before stream, how I watched Scary Movie 1 last night. Doofy, Mom says stop using the vacuum. I'm going to lean into that meme and say the vacuum bot.
One of them? Me too. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the Act Man for more awesome content. All right, everyone. We've paid our respects, and it's time to say adieu. Farewell, the sweet Concord. Farewell.
I love this. I thought this was a good video. I'm very glad we didn't hear DEI, woke, etc. mentioned, words that I just tune out if I'm being completely honest. I thought this was a very well-constructed video. I thought this brought a lot of good faith, good points to the table. I thought that this was a very good insight into a snapshot into what the game was and why it inevitably met with the fate that it is, and as well as its impact on the overall industry. I honestly really liked this. I thought this was a really good video. So, as I said, this is a Patreon recommendation. Thank you to the individual who recommended me this. As I said, I haven't reacted to Act Man for a hot minute. Kind of just tuned out after the whole Payday 3 thing, but as I said, don't really hate the dude. Just kind of moved on and did other things. I thought this was good, though. Thank you, Act Man, for putting together a very good, comprehensive video. As someone who really didn't understand much about Concord, it was really cool to look at this time capsule and figure out what really kind of happened. And thank you, everybody, for watching. I really do, really do appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next one.